Hello pandas and other scrap enthusiasts, and welcome back to the shop. You can consider this a bit of a follow-up to last week's video where we found out if transformers, well, just how much we can make per hour in a large batch. And unsurprisingly, that was pretty good. But those were all quite large, so what about smaller transformers? Things like these ones, or even these ones, the kinds that come out of like wall wart battery charger type things. I always just bring them in the way they are, but are they worth stripping down and scrapping for copper? We've got some tools, and we're gonna find out.
Now this time I think our best friend is just going to be the stump with no vice on it because, well, they're little. And they're separated into different categories, mostly just for fun, but I want to see which ones annoy me the most. So we'll start with the sort of mashed up ones that I made a bit of a mess with. I want to see how bad they are. And the other hero of this story is, of course, the machete. This silly little one was just in the pile. I don't think it's actually a transformer, but there it is. And this one was our first, and thankfully only aluminum wound one, so that's not adding to the total. I wish I'd verified that in the first place, but it didn't waste that much time. And yeah, it didn't really seem like being slightly mashed up made this any more difficult. I still made a mess though. Whatever. Now, I think everybody's seen me take plenty of Transformers apart at this point, so I'm not going to spend a particularly long time on any of these. But I will point out things that seem to be a little different or interesting or just catch my eye. Like these spools of copper wire. They're not worth that much, but I really enjoy them. And now the next category, these things here, I don't think these count as transformers. I'm pretty sure they're kind of motor. I don't really know. But the ones with the little lobster claw grip around the spooled up stuff. Now normally I just put these on the concrete floor and bash one of the wings and eventually they come out like that. But that tends to mash the core between the windings and just make things worse. So yeah, combination of my broken screwdriver and the vise and hammering. Eventually, I found the technique I liked was just driving my chisel screwdriver thing in between the crack between the two segments where tension just holds this part on. It actually ended up working pretty well. Some of them were a little more complex than others, like this one, with its little crescent-shaped holding point, and these little plastic bits. They're just kind of a mess flying everywhere. Doesn't matter. Slow but steady. And I was thinking I wouldn't have to use the angle grinder, but yeah, a couple of these pieces were welded together. But I almost prefer them because it made it pretty easy. What's up with this one? This one was ridiculous. It's kind of a combination of every assembly method, so after struggling with it for a bit, I eventually just landed on the old-fashioned way. It works just fine. And this collection, this took me about an hour to produce this relatively small amount.
Alright, now these ones are simpler and I'm expecting to go through them a little bit faster. And just for fun, I got a new tool to try out. These were on sale at Princess Auto.
sure this is going to be a bit of a shame. But at the same time, that worked pretty darn good. Now, simpler, yes, these were just interlocking plates of laminations, whatever you want to call them. But I learned very quickly that while most of these only have the one layer of tape around the outside and then a second layer somewhere in the middle, some of them have many, many, many layers of tape. And I wasted a little too much time on those. I eventually learned that messing with these was not worth it, and just removing the copper in general and throwing the whole lump into the bin worked great. I would suggest trying to peel all the tape off of those. Ultimately, though, the meat cleaver or the machete were definitely the way to go. Either one should work just fine, but I liked using the machete because I've already destroyed the edge and I don't care about it. Well, let's see. This one's got some welds, so I want to see if I can get through the whole thing without making the special effort with the grinder. They're pretty small, so I bet you can. Alright. There were times, though, when the hatchet came in kind of clutch, and I'm glad to have an assortment of tools to choose from because they're good at different things. Like the hatchet here. It comes in clutch sometimes, but it's just not great for starting the cut. The edge is too thick. Now let's try these little things. These chargers should have a transformer in there. There. Got one more. Oh yeah. Nice one. And then one of my final categories, I kept these ones separate, the ones with the little steel envelope wrapped around them. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to use the angle grinder, and I didn't. These aren't really welded or anything. None of the ones I had, anyway. So a couple taps with the hammer softens up the one edge, and then they pull off pretty easily. Alright, almost done. Last two, but I will say, just the way it feels right now, I will be surprised if this is worth it. I am so tired of Transformers. Trying to clean up after everything. Those last couple videos were they took a lot of time and things have piled up, so I've got a whole bunch of well, next week we're not going to go back to dumpster diving. We're going to do just a whole bunch of scrap pickups that were piling up while I was neglecting them, and going to process through those. Try to come up with fun camera angles and make them interesting and not drag on. I know there are a number of people that just want to see treasure hunting out in the wild, but that's the closest thing I've got for right now. Perhaps I shouldn't attempt to talk to the camera. My face isn't in frame. This one's actually not so bad because it's not totally covered in glue and resin. It's just the paper. Oh, and I do appreciate everybody who watched the previous Transformer video because I was working on that one for a while, and although I learned a bunch and would make it maybe even better if I did it again, I was still pleased with how it turned out, and I'm really glad so many people enjoyed it. It was definitely one of the videos on the list I'm working through that I've been alluding to. Ugh. Only done the first half. I'll finish that one in a sec. Oh, and here's something I wanted to know. Can I just cut off half of them? Alright, maybe not so much. Alright, I think everybody gets the idea. The bigger they are, the better they are. I'm just going to finish this up, and then we'll get some totals. And there, the aftermath. A pile of trash, a pile of steel, and half a bucket full of number 2 copper windings. Nice and clean.
So final answer with numbers and math. We started out with 66 pounds of Transformers, which we would have got 35 cents a pound for, or $23. But instead we spent 3 hours processing it down into just under 50 pounds, or $5 worth of steel, and just under 10 pounds of copper, which is worth roughly 35 bucks. So $40. It's a difference of $17. So we spent 3 hours bringing it up 17 bucks, or roughly $5.70 an hour. Totally up to you to decide if that's worth it or not. Myself, I'm probably not going to take them apart unless they're particularly large, but it's good information to have. So I hope that was helpful, or at least you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Leave it better than you found it. Keep doing the thing.